Welcome. Okay, welcome to our seminar where we will speak about well-architected AWS Well-Architected Framework. And seminar is called How to Get the Most of the Framework. While we are waiting several minutes until to start seminar and give opportunity to other people to join, let me say that seminar will be recorded and record will be provided. Also, deck also will be provided in follow-up later after the seminar. If you have any questions, comments, you may send them to the chat window or mention them in feedback form. So at the end of seminar, I ask you, I will be grateful for you to, if you fill feedback form and say what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to hear in our next seminars. By the way, it would be nice if you send where are you from in the chat window. So we'll check that chat is working, and it will be interesting to see a geography of our attenders. I'm Ilya Reznikov. I'm cloud architect in Svitla Systems. So before we'll start, let me say several words about company Svitla System, which conducts this seminar. So Svitla System is a global digital solution company with almost 21 years on the market. We have more than 1,000 engineers. We have global footprint. So we are headquartered in California, but have 13 global locations around the world and offices in various countries like Poland, Ukraine, India, USA, Mexico, Argentina, and others. Obviously, we are working for many years, so we have experience and successfully completed projects in various industries. A lot of our customers are returned to us with the next projects. Also, Svitla is a member of APN, which stands for AWS Partner Network, and we have AWS Advanced Tier Service Partner level. It means that we have a strong team of trained and certified technical individuals who have proven customer experience and demonstrate a high level of technical proficiency and expertise in designing, implementing, and managing solutions on AWS platform. We provided a lot of different solutions in various areas. So among them is cloud migration and supporting customer cloud adoption. We are providing well-architected reviews. We providing a managed service support. Also, we provide different consulting services in cost optimization, hardened cloud security, serverless engagement, and application containerization. By the way, I just see that chat is not working. So if you'd like to send a message, please use a Q&A window. Today we will speak about AWS Well-Architected Framework and how it could be applied to your workload, about reviews, about what is risk, how to define opportunities. Also, we pay attention to security, especially in security pillar, and discuss AWS security tools and some third-party security tools which you could use in order to enhance and harden your cloud security. Also, this seminar is just one seminar in a series of well-architected framework, and on the screen you see QR code for link to Svitla System YouTube channel, where we post our seminars. And let me recap what we discussed on previous seminars. So AWS Well-Architected Framework contains proven design principles and best practices. Workload and pillars for review are selected by customer according to business and technical requirements. And outcome of the review is an improvement plan that includes detected risk and proposed solutions. So today we also will speak about these things. So we'll discuss why it works to use well-architected framework, how to organize reviews, how to scope workload, and actually why it could it's possible to, it's worse to conduct several different reviews for the same workload. Once again, based on your needs. But let's start with interesting questions. Are you familiar with AWS Well-Architected Framework? Okay, good. Thank you for answering. So I see that most of our tenders is not really familiar with AWS Well-Architected Framework. So I will be happy to explain how it's constructed, how to use it. So by definition, AWS Well-Architected Framework, it's a framework that helps cloud architect design, build, operate, reliable, secure, and high-performance, resilient, efficient, and sustainable infrastructure for a variety of applications and workloads. One of important thing I need to say that AWS Well-Architected approach is actually cloud agnostic, and actually it could be applied to workload deployed to any cloud, to hybrid workloads, or even like purely on-premise deployment. A little later, we'll speak about how AWS Well-Architected Framework approach could be merged with migration to the cloud. And obviously, because it was to conduct AWS Well-Architected review at assess phase, obviously at that moment you will have only on-premise deployment. Okay. In the nutshell, AWS Well-Architected Framework provides consistent set of best practices for customers and partners to evaluate architectures. Idea that AWS solution architects reviewed a lot of customer infrastructures trying to answer the questions how well they are designed and how well they are aligned to best practices. And that is why actually, despite it could be applied to on-premise workloads, in essence, we'll speak about best practices tied to cloud benefits, tied to cloud infrastructures. Using AWS Well-Architected Framework, it allows us to build better. So we may reduce unplanned actions, increase capacity management and automation. Due to this, it allows us to experiment and release applications faster. Because AWS Well-Architected Framework contains best practices, it means that we will be informed about some potential risks that we have in our architecture. Then we will be able to decide, do we need them fix right now, or it could be postponed. Once again, it depends on application stage, on technical requirements, or on business requirements, but it still gives you ability to make informed decisions. So you will understand what you will need to do and further. And finally, it helps to learn best practices that AWS developed by reviewing a lot of customer architectures. Also, when we will speak about review could be done even internally in order to learn these best practices and improve knowledge level of your teams. Obviously, AWS Well-Architected Framework is not a new tool. So in essence, it was started in more than 12 years ago, in 2012. Then 2 years later, it became publicly available. And this framework is still growing, and new pillars are added, and new lenses are designed. And who knows, maybe, several years later, we will speak about 7 pillars. AWS Well-Architected Framework contains questions, design principles, and best practices across 6 pillars. Each question include several best practices, and when we will do well-architected review, we actually try to answer a question: does this particular best practice implemented in your workload? Then it gives us ability to understand how well our architecture is designed, and later we will speak about how to define risks and create improvement plan. There are currently 6 pillars of AWS Well-Architected Framework. So their names are self-explainable, but let me give them a definition. So operational excellence pillar focused on running and monitoring systems and continually improving processes and procedures to deliver business value. Security pillar encompasses the ability to protect data, system, and assets to take advantage of cloud technologies to improve the security. The reliability pillar encompasses the ability of workload to perform its intended functions correctly and consistently when it's expected to. The performance efficiency pillar includes the ability to use computing resources efficiently to meet system requirements and to maintain that efficiency as demand changes and technology evolve. Cost optimization pillar includes the ability to run systems to deliver business value at lowest price point. And sustainability pillar, actually the newest one, focuses on environmental impact, especially energy consumption and efficiency. Several of these pillars we discussed and considered in our previous seminar. So at the beginning, we provided you a link. But despite on the screen, we see that, pillars are provided in some particular order. It doesn't mean that for any workload, say pillars on the left is more important than pillar on the right, or like vice versa. Idea that actually it's always when we will consider some application or like in general workload, based on technical requirements, application stage, business requirements, a company size and the company goals, we will speak about some particular order, and it will always be trade-off between pillars. So for example, if you like creating POC, probably performance efficiency will not be too important for you, but maybe you will put effort to improve cost optimization and say on security. If it's like big enterprise workload, probably performance efficiency, security, reliability will be more important than even cost optimization. So it depends, and later on the next slide, we'll speak about that in details. Also, it's provided AWS Well-Architected lenses. So in general, lenses just extend the guidance offered by AWS Well-Architected to specific industry and technology domain. So on this diagram, you see examples of these domains like data analytic lenses, SaaS lenses, healthcare industry lenses, and some others. Usually, lenses also contain the same 6 pillars and a small set of questions with like corresponding best practices tied exactly to this industry or technology domain. But also, it's possible to create custom lenses for your like internal development. So if you develop some application and you have some established practices in your company, it's worth to create custom lenses which cover exactly your best practices. Like an example, so this is a screenshot of what is called AWS Well-Architected tool. Actually, it's one of the important part of well-architected review. These tools allows team to lead through questions where it provides question and gives ability to answer is best practice implemented in for this workload. Also, as we see here, it provides a list of all questions. It provides some short description. Also, it could give some additional information about each best practices. And also, when we discuss each particular question, we are able to mark that this question is not applicable for our workload, and it also will be okay. This question is taken from SaaS lenses, which correspond to identity and access management security best practice area, which we'll consider later, and sounds like how are you associating tenant context with users and applying that context within a SaaS architecture. Obviously, these questions make sense exactly for application which developed as a software as a service application. And probably if you don't have tenants in in your application, this question will not have too much sense. And that is why it's actually while lenses are designed for technology domains. On QR code, using QR code, you may open a link to AWS documentation, which provide detailed description about these questions, about best practices which are covered by this question. Also, it provides some anti-patterns and recommendation and even architectural diagrams how to implement these best practices, for real applications. For example, in this case, architectural diagrams mention that it was to use GVT, Amazon Cognito, and Amazon DynamoDB to implement this best practice. Another question is taken from healthcare industry lenses and correspond to the adaptive control security best practice area. When we are speaking about healthcare industry, we obviously keep in mind that health data is one of the most important part of healthcare industry application, and that is why this lenses contains a lot of questions. Do we properly manage, monitor, and control access to health data and personal data? These particular questions cover sounds like how are you logging access to health data, and it covers two best practices: log access to system resources and data in accordance with your policies and procedures, and do you configure audit logs to be centralized and immutable? Also, documentation, which you could open by this link, contains proposed solution which refer to using such services as CloudTrail, VPC Flow logs, EKS logs, S3 access logs, CloudWatch logs, and any other logs which you are able to collect in AWS cloud infrastructure, and the recommendation how to organize this centralized storage. Next, I mentioned a lot of times workload. Workload, by definition, it identifies a set of companies that deliver business value. So workload, it's wrong to think that workload is just about application or it's just about cloud infrastructure. So it could be process, technology, infrastructure, but it was to consider them together. Because, for example, operational excellence, it's quite hard to implement without processes, without considering processes. And that is why usually workload, should be defined as a set of these parts. So it should contain infrastructure, services, application, processes, procedures, how your team is organized and is managed. As an example, we may consider like website, or it would be like backend of this website, or it would be like some e-commerce application, and so on. Because we are speaking about AWS Well-Architected Framework, it was designed by AWS, and I mentioned that it really inherit cloud best practices. And it contains several general design principles where you able to use cloud benefits such as you may use resources on demand. So it means that you don't need like suppose try to guess what capacity you need and keep like expensive idle resources and so on. So you may really just rent resources on demand exactly while you need them and when you need them. Another benefit that it gives, you may test systems at production scale. You may create production scale test environment, just use it, test your system, check whatever you need, and just shut down. Well, cloud suppose that you will be use automations whenever it's possible. Also, because application is growing and the cloud provider is constantly working on adding new features, new services, it was to create your application and architecture in such ways that you, well, it allows to be evolve across the time. And cloud support this approach. Also, you need to collect data on how your architectural choice affects the behavior of the workload. And another thing, it's very important thing that you able to set up game days and check how your processes and procedures are well designed, how your people are trained, and understand do you really prepared for any incidents. Another note which I need to do that well-architected framework, despite it contains a word architecture, and architecture, well, has a lot of different meanings. It doesn't like imply that well, you need to consider like cloud application only or like microservices application only. No, idea that you may take any applications with any architectural approach like microservices, service-oriented, monolith, and still you will be able to apply well-architected framework to this application and check like best practices. In next chapter, we'll speak about AWS Well-Architected Framework reviews. So before we start, please answer the question, how often are you involved in well-architected reviews? Okay, thank you. Well, actually, I'm impressed. So several person answer that they do review monthly and quarterly. Okay, it's good. I support this approach. But because most of attenders answer that never do this review, so let me persuade you that you need to at least consider this opportunity, and maybe you will be able to integrate these reviews in your development processes. So before let's we give a definition, intent of review. As we said, AWS Well-Architected Framework contains best practices and design principles. And it's like when we discuss how these best practices are implemented in your application, in your workload, it doesn't, well, it's not like any audit. It's rather ability to work together to consider your application and understand where there are like opportunities to improve that. Any review should be done in blame-free approach. So once again, it's not like ability to point fingers on someone who didn't implement any best practice. But it's ability to understand where we may improve our application. And because actually review suppose that improvement plan will be generated and then it will be implemented, it means that it should not be like one-time check. It should be like set on a regular basis. Usually, review contains three phases. So first of them, it's define workload, scope workload, identify sponsor for each pillar. Also, when we are speaking about scope and workload, we need define which pillars we will consider. As I said, it depends on application stage or like business needs. But preparation phase includes defining person who will responsible for each included pillars. Also, usually at this phase, our engineers get architectural diagrams from customers, some documentation, and maybe even the customer provide read-only access to their code, which also usually significantly improve review because we know more about your workload, about your processes. Review phase review phase, it's like conduct a workload. It should be conducted like one day session or split to several sessions. Usually it's better to split to several sessions because it's not easy to like invite all people at the same time for workload review. Then we publish report and at third phase, we need to detect risk, review them, prioritize, and create a treatment or improvement plan. And as I said, outcome of well-architected review is actually this improvement plan. Tools which are used for a well-architected review is AWS Well-Architected tool, which could be integrated with several AWS services like a trusted advisor. Also, we need to define workload, we need to conduct review, and as a result, we'll define high-risk issue, medium-risk issues. Even more, we actually define risk issues which could have three severity, but high-risk issues is something identified by AWS Well-Architected tool, like architectural and operational choice that AWS has found might result in significant negative impact to a business. Medium risk issues actually also might negatively impact businesses, but to a lesser extent. But a key word here that it's about AWS think that it could have negative impact. And on the next phase, at the third phase, when we will go through prioritization of this risk, it's we need for each defined high risk issue and actually medium risk issue, understand which actually impact of this issue could be. And based on that, we need to determine most to least critical rank of these identified risks. So as an example of risk impact, it could be like lost sales, corporate liability, longer time to market, some legal, regulatory, and so on. But well, if you consider review startup or like POC, which like ready to go to production or like pre-production stage, it means that probably some risk defined by this review will not be so critical in this stage. Also, as soon as we discussed impact of each risk, we need to understand who will answer for like this solution. By the way, could it be like solved, could it be removed or just mitigated? And then we like define who owns the improvement work. And as I said, as soon as we identify risks, we need to implement this well-architected improvement workflow. So identify risk and improvement opportunity, then prioritize them. Then understand them, discuss about impact, and try to understand prescriptive solutions. So how each particular risk could be mitigated. Then we go through prioritization, prioritize this improvement based once again on technical requirements, on time, how quick it could be implemented, how it like tied to other parts of your application, well, how many time does it take, and so on. And then we create this improvement plan, and our engineers help to do that. So outcome of our reviews is just this improvement plan tied to exactly your workload and your needs. So it's not just like a formal review. Okay, you have 10 high risk, you're free to go. No, idea that you should get this improvement plan to understand how to mitigate these risks. Then you may do it on your own or like hire a consultant partner, implement and track these improvements. And now we need, after that, we need to go through one more review, understand, go through review, run tool, go through best practices, identify risks which are not implemented at that moment of time because actual application is growing, something will change, and it means that result of next review probably should be better, contain less risks than it was previously. But that is why I said that review should be done on a regular basis. And that is why, let me say, several interesting outcome of reviews. So review should be done on could be done on pre-production or production stage of the application, but early is better because if you know about some risk, you may at least make decision. Do you need to improve them right now or postpone for some, next stages of application lifecycle? And it could be, well, because of blame-free approach, it means that probably you doing something wrong, but it's not because you like want to do it wrongly. Maybe you just missed something, you forget about like data backup, or didn't consider this information. But going through best practices, you see, okay, are your data are your data encrypt? No, okay, we need to like add encryption. Or are your data backup? Okay, we need backup. We need add backup. And like quite interesting thing that, well, probably you will agree with me that most workloads could be improved. Review could be applied to different use cases. We need to use it to learn best practices in the cloud. We need to check that all teams do everything according to best practices. And I mentioned that review also could be integrated with migration process. And this is a question taken from migration lenses, which correspond to incident response security best practices. And it's asked, do you have you established monitoring controls with the right set of tools? Also, solution contains mentions several AWS tools which should be used. And in the second part of our session, we'll speak about security pillar, best practices and security pillar. So before we'll start, please answer questions and not like actually answer, but I ask you just imagine your current workload, which you could consider like for this several questions from ephemeral well-architected review. So we provide several options, but if you imagine any your specific application, please mention that in feedback form. It will be interesting for us. Okay, Igor? Okay, it looks like we have a wrong questions. Let us fix it quickly. Okay. Sorry for this technical issue. Okay, so it is wrong set of questions. I suppose you will have a time to to complete our feedback form and mention your workload in that form. Okay, so I'd like to speak about some ephemeral applications. So it's web. So you see high-level AWS diagram for this application. It's deployed as ECS Elastic Container Services. Workers are deployed as Lambdas, and also company use AWS Organization and Control Tower, AWS Config, Security Hub, AWS Backup. Well, let me say, application designed according to best practices. Okay, let's speak about security pillar. So security pillar actually is a second one. Well, in most cases, I'd like to say that security should not be like underestimated. It should be one of the most important pillars. Well, it's so important because of business continuity, customer trust, regulatory compliance, and so on. By definition, security pillar encompasses the ability to protect data, system, and assets to take advantage of cloud technologies to improve your workload securely. Once again, this QR code to the documentation. So if you'd like to learn more, you may go to documentation. Security contains several design principles. So if we're speaking about strong identity foundation, we need to implement principle of least privilege and enforce separation of duties with appropriate authorization for each interaction with your AWS resources. So we need to centralize identity management and eliminate reliance on long-term static credentials. We need to monitor, alert, audit actions and changes to our environment in real time. Also, we need to integrate log and metric collections with system to automatically investigate and take action. We need to apply principal defense in depth. So we need to protect our network, load balancing, application, database, storage, whatever we have in our infrastructure. And if any of these, layers will be broken, it means that other will provide restrict access. We need to, on a regular basis, review best practices and improve our services which we are using and utilize required applications. Also, very important that we need to classify our data into sensitivity levels and use mechanisms such as encryption, tokenization, and access control wherever it's appropriate. We need to use mechanisms and tools to reduce or eliminate the need of direct access or manual processing of data. It reduces risk of mishandling or modification and the human errors when handling sensitive data. And we need to have runbook, playbook, and be prepared for security incidents. Well, because they happen time to times, and we are not able to avoid them. And we need to regularly run incident response simulation and use tools to with automation to increase our speed to detect, investigate, and recovery from such incident. Also, security pillar contains 7 best practice areas. We on this slide will speak in details about security foundations. Others, well, it's about identity and access management, which are key parts. It's about that detection, which contains of 2 parts. It's detection or of unexpected or unwanted configuration changes, and actually detection of unexpected behavior. And there are a lot of services provided by AWS who help to solve or help to implement these best practices. Infrastructure protection encompass control methodologies such as defense in depth necessary to meet best practices. Data protection based on data classification, we may to categorize organizational data. It's incident response, and obviously we need to take care about application security. So maybe it's not like directly correspond to cloud services, but well, we, as I said, actually workload contains several parts. Along with cloud infrastructure, it should care about application, and we need to use and integrate security tools to application, to development process, to CI/CD processes. I suppose that this slide knows by everyone. It's about shared security responsibility model, which where AWS is responsible for security of the cloud and customer is responsible for security in the cloud. And this is one of principles of a security foundational best practice area. Idea that AWS is responsible for physical access to data centers, about the physical security, about that customer, each particular customer will not get access to data and the resources of another customer, but customer is responsible for security of each resource which well they use. So if customer deploy EC2 instance, it means that customer should understand or do it manually or utilize patch manager in order to be sure that operation system is patched on a regular base. If customer use like RDS or DynamoDB service, it means that customers should set up permissions, set up policies, set up resource policies in order to prevent access of unauthorized identities to those resources. Security foundation. Well, security foundation based on secure operations. First principle, it's that we need use separate accounts for each workload. So if you even have workload and you usually have for application which are developed, you have like dev test, staging, prod environments. One of best practice to, excuse me, to deploy them to separate account, because account it's like hard boundaries of resources. And it means if you do something wrong, for example, on deployment process, another account will prevent for deploying like dev code to production, or you will be able to provide administrative access to administrative permissions for developers to dev account, but almost no one will have such level access to prod account and so on. Another very important thing is that you need to identify and validate control objectives. So based on your compliance requirement and the risk identified from threat models, derive and validate as a control objective and controls that you need to apply to your workload. We need to be up to date with security threats. So be like subscriber to security bulletins and recognize attack vectors by staying up to date with latest security threats. Well, also we need to be like up to date with security recommendations. We need to identify and prioritize risks using threat model. And automate testing and validation of security control in pipelines. And we also may use managed services, managed security services to validate and test our security controls. And obviously, it will be much more efficient if we will do everything manually. Also, what I'd like to mention. Well, security foundational best practices, well, it contains a shared responsibility, which we considered previously. It speaks about security governance, AWS account management and separation, and how to operate workload securely. AWS provides a lot of different security tools. Well, maybe one of the first tool which you may mention when you speak about security, when you think about security, is AWS Identity and Access Management. Well, this service contains a lot of features, highly integrated with other services, like, for example, AWS organizations, AWS Control Tower, and others. Also, there exist login services like CloudTrail, CloudWatch, and others. Well, when we speak about confidential data and personal data, we may use some features or like specially designed services like Amazon Maisie, which able to detect this confidential data if and like inform about that. I also include in this list, let me say, incident detection tool services like Guard Data and Inspector and the Secret Manager to keep confidential data and credentials in proper way. And if we like take a look at this AWS security landscape, we see that mentioned services like will work on different levels. So in management account, we usually like, well, because one of the recommendation use separate accounts for workloads, it means that we need to utilize AWS organization, because without the service manage set of accounts, well, it could be quite time consuming and not really efficient way. So we use AWS organization, we use AWS Control Tower with like service catalog and maybe some other services. We, according to best practices, we should use AWS EIM Identity Center service in order to use single sign-on for users, and it allows us to avoid using long-term credentials. Then we need to create a log archive account which collects all logs, all kind of different kind of logs, and obviously this account will have very restricted access. In operational accounts, we may use it like administrative accounts for security, such security services like Inspector, Security Hub, Guard Duty, and others. And in application account, when actual application is deployed, we also need to use, well, should use security services like Amazon Key Management Service to encrypt some data, Cognito to work with external identities, Secret Manager, Web Application Firewall, and some others. Despite we mentioned a lot of different services, we didn't mention a lot of other services. So, for example, AWS Shield Advanced for critical enterprise level applications, network firewall, which allows to create highly secure firewall on network level. Well, we may also mention AWS System Manager, some data protection features, and so on. So it's a lot of security tools and services provided by AWS, and that is why it allows us to follow best practice to use management tools, well, to manage our security on different sense and different levels. Also, it doesn't mean that we have only AWS security tools. So if you'd like, you may use any of third-party cloud security tools, where on this slide, we just mentioned several of them, maybe like the most important, the most known ones. But when we're speaking about security, once again, it could be container monitoring tools. It could be like network security tools. It could be some vulnerability scanners, incident management and response tools, like cloud monitoring, logging tools, and so on. So it means that in this list we need to include a lot of, like, in addition to Datadog, Tenable, Splunk, we also may include PagerDuty, SonarQube, GitHub Advanced Security, Prometheus, and a lot of other tools, which each tool work on one of another, like, security best practice area. And one more note that this QR code link leads to AWS Marketplace, where some of these tools provided like add-ons to your AWS cloud infrastructure. Okay, we have several minutes till the end of seminar, so let me go through one more pool where please answer, do best practices from security foundational best practice area is implemented on your ephemeral workload, which I asked you imagine like several slides previously earlier. So the question sounds like, how do you securely operate your workload? There are 8 best practices, and please check everything which is applicable to your workloads. Hmm. Okay. Igor, could you share results? Thank you for answering. I see that like answer like spread between all questions. So I see that a lot of answer that they use separate workloads, that they understand and identify threats and prioritize mitigation using a threat model. Well, according to workload, which I also mentioned, I'd like to say that when we run a well-architected review at pre-prod stage, we understand that, for example, we didn't implement the first principles, and 3 accounts were deployed to 3 environments were deployed to this account. It's exactly case. It's not because like a bad decision. So it was this like it was decision which need to be like fixed later. So you see on the screens that we found that following 4 best practices were implemented in that application. So secure account root user properties. Probably everyone knows how to do that. So root user should not be used for anything. Identify and validate control objective, reduce security management scope. I said that we use managed tools, and we automate deployment of standard security controls because we used a CloudFormation. If we just take this particular questions and go to improvement plan provided by AWS Well-Architected tool, we found that it says that, okay, this is a high risk that some of these best practices are not implemented. And well, we agree with that, because it's like security foundation, it's like a basement for our security of our workload. And well, it's worth to implement any best practice which are included to this question. So that is why Amazon said, AWS said us that, okay, guys, this is a high risk issue. We need to take a look at these 4 links. I provided them here. And each link contains detailed description, anti-patterns, why it should be implemented, some advices how it should be implemented, which services could be used, or which architectural decisions should be made. So we reviewed these practices and implement some of them, and use and like conduct one more well-architected review for this workload when it was deployed, well, let me say, launched to production. We found that all best practices are implemented. So what we did, we redeploy UAT and prod environment to separate accounts, update required service control policies and security controls. We, in addition, implement Amazon GuardDuty and Amazon Inspector. We also add regular security reviews by security analysts. That company has a security team. So we established process for that and implemented automated penetration test. So this, for example, last two items is exactly that workload is not just about cloud infrastructure. So it's about processes, it's about people, it's about application security. And that is why I encourage you, if you will be involved in well-architected review, you should understand that it's not like one-time action. It should be done on regular basis. Should it be monthly, quarterly, maybe annually? It's too rare, but it really depends on pace of your development. Okay, let me summarize what we discussed today. Here we provide several useful resources on documentation on AWS side. Also, I already mentioned Svitla System YouTube channel. If you'd like to learn more, you may go through these links, review our previous well-architected seminars, and several days later, you will see this record from this seminar. Also, we previously spoke about cost optimization, about microservices, and also Svitla System YouTube channel contains a lot of different topics and records because we have several different threads. We have technical talks. We have where we have this seminar, AWS seminars, where we speak about development, about different technologies, about digital transformation, about artificial intelligence technologies, about QA approaches, and a lot of other things. Today, I suppose I persuade you that you need to develop well-architected approach that aligns with your business goals. I provide you a description about stages of customer engagement for successful outcome. We discuss how to quantify and mitigate risk effectively, and we explore security pillar and appropriate tools. And like about next steps. So if you'd like learn more, if you'd like to organize well-architected review, you may contact us via site or leave a message in feedback form. By the way, this is a QR code for feedback form, so I will be grateful for you if you fill this form and provide comments and feedback on this seminar. Also, if you'd like to learn more about risk mitigation, about security, or about how to organize well-architected review focused on some particular pillar, please also mention that in feedback form, and we'll consider this request for one of our next seminars. Okay, probably we have 1-2 minutes for Q&A session. If I will not answer some of these questions, okay, I have one question from Walter. How do someone embed AWS Well-Architected Framework into CERT AWS Cloud Security Assessment? One more. Well, sorry, Walter, I actually didn't get in your question. If I understand it correctly, you speak about migration. So in this case, as I said, it was to conduct a well-architected review on assess phase to understand which best practices are already implemented in your workload, And well, because migration, it's not usually like one-to-one transition. Even if we like do lift and shift, we, well, in any case, we need to change something. And providing a well-architected review on like this initial phase allows us to understand which best practices are already implemented and which of them we may implement at the like migration and mobilize phase. So in this case, it was to conduct well-architected review at each stage of a migration process. Okay, and one more question, which I see, is it recommendable to adopt AWS Well-Architected in applications that is in production for years now? How complicated will it be? Well, short answer, yes. How complicated will it be? Well, short answer, it depends. Well, I suppose that it's quite big application because you said that it's production for years. Well, maybe if like it's something stable, I'm okay. So in this case, we need to discuss which kind of application. So if it's something like is not expected to be developed or extended or changed, in this case, probably it doesn't has like sense. If you, well, let me say it that way. As you do a well-architected review, you will get a list of like risk issues and you may create improvement plan. If you are not able to implement any of these changes, well, it means that it will be just for informational purposes only. But if it's expected to extend application, or if you may change infrastructure around application, so maybe you are not able to change application by itself, but for example, you may consider some options to improve networking or improve performance or like add some security measures. In this case, okay, we just understand that we are not able to change application, but we may change processes, infrastructure around that stuff. I hope you answer your question. Okay, thank you. I suppose the time is running out. Okay, Walter, I mean to embed into third-party assessments. Okay, for example, I know that there are a lot of tools which like, let me say, integrated with well-architected framework. So it's like they provide cloud security assessment, for example. So if we speak about security, but it's integrated with well-architected framework, and like one of result of this assessment is okay how your infrastructure is well architected according to well-architected security pillar, but also it provides some additional information. So you may, I'm not sure, so probably you may go through AWS Marketplace. But if you'd like, I will take a look and maybe send some, assumption into a follow-up email. So thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for staying till the end of session. I assume it was interesting for you. So let me say once again, please provide feedback for this seminar and answer on questions in feedback form. Thank you, and have a good day or have a good evening, depends on where you are.